hope you know it's on now.
That's
I'll
fine.
use everything I have to make sure that you never see those kids.
Jonathan Paul Estes was born at the age of 35. He lived in Boca Chico, Mississippi, and worked as a construction worker, which required him to often travel for work. He was described as a hard worker with a great work ethic that adored his two children. It is said that they were his life and driving force for working so hard. He was married to their mother, Cindy Estes, but the marriage had been troubled and they had separated multiple times during their years and allegedly had mutual affairs on both sides. In May 2018, John accompanied his daughter to Washington, D.C. with their church, and when he returned, he was scheduled for a 2-week work trip to Texas. Right before he was scheduled to leave, Cindy asked for a divorce. He told a friend that he was surprised because the relationship had improved and it had been going much better. After returning from work in Texas 2 weeks later, the couple separated and he rented a house of his own. On May 10th, 2018, when he went to the home the couple had shared to pick up his belongings, he felt the need to record the interaction while waiting on law enforcement to assist and be present during the act of retrieving his items. This is a portion of the video, and the entire video can be found on YouTube, and I will link the description down below.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it to this. I wanted civil. I was just going to take my stuff and I was going to leave.
No, you were going to take my stuff.
No, I'm not taking your stuff. It's our stuff.
It's what you were taking.
We were what?
Everything.
No, I was not. No, I was not. I was going to take. I have not told Bryce what I was taking. I know all about what you've been up to. That's good. Your son does too. That's why he called you what he called you this morning. He found that and sent it to me so that I would know the truth. And in the state of Mississippi, we'll see what the judge has to say about it. But you know I'm telling the truth. You know that last Friday night, you met up with...
You didn't have drinks with friends, and that's what I told you to do.
That's not what your messages say. With your pictures on them.
Whatever.
Off of your Kick account. You just deleted the account a while ago on your phone.
They argued about who would get to keep various items, and he speaks about her having an alleged affair with other couples that he didn't know about, and at least one local police officer. Their alleged and rumored agreement was that neither would step out of the marriage without the knowledge or involvement of the other, but she had been doing so while he was working out of town. At least one of his friends had also seen the evidence on John's phone that led to these accusations, and they had been screenshot and sent to him by their young son. John threatened to expose her to her parents and the court if she wasn't civil during their divorce proceedings. At 3:24 into the video, Cindy can be heard saying that she will do everything in her power to keep him from seeing his children. During the next 3 weeks, John helped her with some repairs at the home, and they were being cordial. This is until the two had an argument at the home they previously shared after John met with a divorce attorney. He then returned to his home, and meanwhile, Cindy allegedly claimed to law enforcement that he had physically and sexually assaulted her at gunpoint and that she hit him with her car. However, his explanation of events was much different. He said he was sitting on the couch, and during a conversation, she got angry and jumped on him, and he threw her off him and attempted to leave. As he was going to his truck, she got in her car and hit him with her car and then drove away. After their altercation, she marked his truck as stolen in the manufacturing system, which likely alerted the sensor in the truck while he was driving, which is not the first time she had done that in order to find out his location. Likely angry, he ditched the truck and hid it in the hayfield behind Cindy's trailer and later told his friend about it. He then asked his neighbor to pick him up from the side of the road and was dropped off at his house in the middle of the night. Cindy then allegedly over the next 2 days requested police escorts several times to her home because according to her she feared John. When he got wind of her accusations, he told his boss on June 2nd that he would be going to the police station to settle the accusations. That same afternoon, John was on the phone with his best friend Kevin and said that police were cruising up and down his road, Jean Road, and he was going to just flag them down and see what was going on. They were apparently watching the house for him to return in his truck, not knowing that he was already home and had ditched the truck. They even stopped and asked his neighbor if they had seen his truck. Keep in mind, this is a very small rural town where everyone knows everyone and many people are related. Turns out, records show that 2 officers were on his road between 12 and 4 p.m. that day. Another one was officially dispatched to his address at the same time he told Kevin that he was going to hang up and walk down the driveway to flag them down to talk or turn himself in, and stated he didn't know exactly what Cindy had told police that he had done. After the call with Kevin, he would mysteriously vanish and has never been heard from again. After hanging up with Kevin and before he was officially missing, Cindy strangely made no more requests for assistance from law enforcement. 2 weeks after he went missing, his truck was found abandoned in the field and turned over to Cindy. He had disabled the tracking system by removing a fuse. Those close to him believe he left the truck there with intentions of retrieving it at some point. The last ping of his phone was at his home where he was last known to be, but there have been no further pings on it, and it has yet to be located. The phone allegedly contained pictures and evidence of her recent alleged affair with a police officer. Initially, his parents thought he was out of contact because he had maybe gone off the grid for a few days. No one was very alarmed initially, but once they thought something sinister may have happened to John, they attempted to report him missing. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Department initially refused to accept a missing persons report for John, as Cindy had filed assault charges against him, and they thought he was a fugitive on the run. They explained that you can't be considered a missing person and at the same time be wanted by police. I believe that this was all strategically done to hinder and delay an investigation into possible foul play. A few months later, in September, John's sister filed the missing persons report with the Lee County Sheriff's Department near where she lived in Tupelo, Mississippi. Their divorce was finalized the following January in spite of John's absence, and Cindy was granted full custody of their children. Investigators would start officially looking into his missing persons case many months after he was last seen. His loved ones don't believe he would have abandoned his children, as he loved them dearly and had always had regular contact with them even during the tumultuous separation. Suspiciously, she reportedly told her son that his father was not coming back. Many people speculate that she knows more than she shared. She has obtained an attorney and has been uncooperative with the investigation. The mobile home that they had shared and his truck has since been sold and allegedly was never thoroughly searched for evidence. In February 2019, Cindy was arrested for grand larceny by the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office for selling a bobcat that was owned by John and his father not long after he went missing. She allegedly told the man she sold the bobcat to that her husband had been dead for 2 years and she had been grieving and just now getting around to selling it. His children, his parents, his siblings, and all those that loved him remain devastated in their loss and want justice and answers. His bank account has been untouched since June 1st, 2018, the day before he was last seen. Let me know in the comments what you think happened to John. Due to a lack of reported evidence available at this time, the case remains unsolved.
Opportunity to talk on.
Welcome to another episode of Brain Scratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. We've got a bit of a special episode. A few weeks ago, we covered the case of Jonathan Paul Estes, and the private investigator that was working that case reached out to me He's very passionate. He has a lot of information that he wants to put out there. He thinks it's going to do good. He thinks it could potentially help the case. And of course, that sounds like we're on the same page. So right now, let me introduce to you, this is James Michael. How you doing, James?
I'm doing fantastic. First of all, thank you for letting me come on this program and explain a little bit about what I may know or whatever help I may be able to give. I do want to apologize. I know I look like I'm the getting ready to be the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets tonight, but I assure you there's a reason for the getup that I have on, the jacket, the hat, and the headset. I'm not a big Skype guy, so you're teaching me as we go here, but I do appreciate what you do. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk, and I'm sorry for looking like I should be running the defense of the Jets.
No sweat, no sweat. We just appreciate your time and your expertise. And just to give everyone a real quick recap, I do have the original episode in the description box below, so you can watch that whole episode. I recommend you do that if you haven't seen that yet. Pause this one and watch that. But Jonathan Estes was last seen June 2nd, 2018 in Bogue Chitto. Am I saying that right?
The way I heard it was pronounced as Boca Chetta.
Oh, really? Boca Chetta. Okay.
Boca Chetta, yeah.
Gotcha. And he disappeared at the age of 36. We're talking brown hair, brown eyes, though in several photos he does shave his head, stands between 6 foot to 6'1", weighs between 150 to 175 pounds. On this new poster I found, they actually have a better description of his tattoo, and that's one of the questions we had, because we heard some people saying it was like a flaming eagle, other people are saying it's a cross. This description is cross with surrounding red and orange flames on his back. Do you know? Have you seen any photos of his tattoo?
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures of different tattoos. And what's interesting is 39% of the country right now has a tattoo. When it comes to missing persons, very, very rarely, and I've probably worked on maybe about 125 cases that involve missing persons, I've never looked for a tattoo. Yeah. And that stuff's all good, and it's great that people put that information out there. The more information, the better. But if you're asking me what tattoos partner he has, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I understand that, especially for the time frame that you're working on the case. I think that information becomes more important, particularly if we're talking about an unidentified body being found somewhere. You know, it could
Definitely
be an identifying mark to help tie that together. So who originally hired you to work on Jonathan's disappearance?
Well, first of all, the name of my business and my practice is Gulf Coast Investigations. I'm based out of Biloxi, Mississippi, but I am one of the few private investigators in the state of Mississippi, and there is not many of us, like any other state, that is actually licensed and went to college to become a private investigator from the state of Florida. Real quick, for anybody who doesn't know private investigating around the United States of America, there is only 3 states right now that do not have technically licensed fingerprinted background check private investigators. One of them is Mississippi. There used to be 5. Alabama was one. I believe Wyoming, Hawaii. There was 5 states. Now there's only 3. There is no governing body in the state of Mississippi to allow a person to be a private investigator. If you go ahead and you pay $25, you get a fictitious name, and you register with the state of Mississippi, you have a licensed private investigating business. You get a business card. In the state of Florida, where I originally started, you need to go to a community college, to a college. You need to take a course. Once you pass the course in 2 exams, you have to work under somebody for 2-year apprenticeship, unless you have a legitimate long-term law enforcement or military background, which I do not have. I have a pro football background. I'm more of a recovery guy than I am somebody that goes and looks at insurance claims or bodyguard work. So I actually got my education at Hillsborough Community College in the Tampa Bay area. Now, I went to regular college. I have a BA, played college football, and I have a background in that. But I went back to school a few years ago, actually with my mom, and pursued this. I had a lot of buddies that were bounty hunters and skip tracers, and they said, you'd be great at recovery, but I wanted to take it a step further and become a private investigator. How did I get in contact with them? 98% of my clients are celebrities. I have a very special practice. In the state of Mississippi, I only work at 1 case at a time. I do not believe in charging an hourly rate. And a celebrity out in Los Angeles sent me a thing about Jonathan Estes, and it started sort as, look at this, you kind of look like this guy.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that actually when I finally saw you, I was like, yeah, especially with his head shaved. I mean, you guys look pretty similar.
And for football, which I still play arena football, I cut my hair low, and you put a ball cap on, a cowboy hat on. He says, this guy looks like you.
Yeah.
But there was enough in this case where a celebrity who was a stuntman and an actor out in Los Angeles, who did have a residence in Louisiana, which is not far, said, you better take a look at this. Jonathan Este's father is sort of a local celebrity. He is a preacher of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
He has a background in religion. So when he got in touch with me, he kind of fit what I do. Missing person, quite some time, a little bit meat on the bone. The cops seem to have come to a standstill or not doing anything with it, and he was able to take me on. I charged him a one-time fee, and I'm very upfront and honest with everything that I do. Charged him a one-time fee, so I do not. It's not like an attorney where a Q hours. And he's also a Vietnam vet. He was a war hero. A lot of people don't know that about Mr. Estes. We hit it off real well over the phone, but religion became part of this, and I'll explain that later. And that's how we got in contact. Within 2 weeks, he hired me, and I work on a case 24/7, one case at a time.
Yeah.
Law enforcement, when it comes to missing people, could have 50 cases. I have one, and I worked on it full time for about 4 months, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Wow. And if you've covered that many cases, you've been at this a while. How long have you been doing this type of work?
In the state of Mississippi, almost 2 years.
Okay. But outside of Mississippi?
About 2.5.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So you mentioned you worked on this case for about 4 months. I know your name and contact information came up in a few of the articles. And I also saw mention that there was a reward at one point that was being offered, I think, through your company, right? Is that actually put up by you guys, or is that put up by the family? How does that work?
100%. One of the things I look for, there's several big mistakes, not to filibuster or take up your show, but it's important that people understand this when you're dealing with private investigators. The first mistake people make is they put up a $2,000 reward.
Right.
A $3,000 reward, a $1,000 reward. Where's my son? He's been missing for 3 years. I got $5,000. If there was a murder, if there's somebody that could go away, or if you're going to rat out a family member, you got to have more than $2,000. Let me put it to you this way. I was at PetSmart the other day. There was a Chihuahua missing in the area. They had a $3,000 reward for it because it needed medicine. If your son has a $1,500 reward, nobody is going to blow the whistle on anybody.
Yeah.
And let me explain this. People say all the time, I don't have more than $2,000 or $3,000. So what my company will do is they'll come in and we automatically attach up to $25,000. Sometimes 5 or 10, sometimes 15, 20, depending on what the reward is. That makes it look a lot more serious. And the media usually will put you on if you're offering 25 to 30,000, because if I'm on the news and I say we got $1,000 reward for this,
right?
People will look, they won't catch it, but $50,000 reward for a missing girl from Mississippi State University. Next thing you know, people are turning the volume up on their televisions.
Yep.
So what we do is we come well our backer. And I could go more if I want, up to 50. And I also have celebrities that I work with, local professional football players from the Mississippi area, from Mississippi State and Ole Miss, that are willing to back this. So if the news won't put it on, and let's face it, most people on the news are blonde hair, blue-eyed, white girls, college age or younger, that they want to cover. They do not want to cover a 220-pound African-American housewife. It doesn't get people to look at their television. They want that good-looking girl, that good-looking young kid, something that scares you a little bit. But you put $50,000 on it, and all of a sudden people are listening. Jonathan Estes kind of fell between the cracks. The family was offering very little money for this. And I said, let's put some money up. That'll get us press. And that's what led us to get the only first 2 articles that were ever in the regular media for this guy. Regular media, guys, is not Facebook. It's not Twitter. It is the newspaper, or it is a news station. So that's what I did. We put up a boatload of money, and that's where we started. And it started in Idaho, where his father had a church, and it went all the way down to Mississippi. So my blueprint and pattern starting this out was anywhere from Boise, Idaho to Mobile, Alabama. And that's the area that I was looking at. That was my blueprint when I started this. And yes, we put up the reward. Now, one other thing, a lot of people will say, well, I can't put up $5,000. What if somebody finds my son? Well, if somebody finds your son or your daughter and you put up $25,000 and you don't have it to pay, that's a pretty good problem to have. That doesn't mean you have to give it to them all in one sum in a paper sack.
Sure.
Pay it to them over a couple of months, a couple of weeks. Does that make sense? You see where I'm coming from? It's hard to explain that to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I get that. So what happened? I know you're not currently officially working on the case. Why is that?
That's a great question. And it was one that I still technically don't have an answer to. I have a theory or two, and it's not money. I was paid up front, as I am with all clients. I charge a one-time fee, as I stated earlier, myself. So if not everything as a private investigator that I look for is a person. Sometimes it's a vehicle.
Mhm.
I'll give you a perfect the ability for the family to get into his social media. And I'll explain that a little bit later. And I want you to ask me about that later, because that's very important in this case.
Mhm.
I had an idea and proof as to what was going on with not only Jonathan Estes, but his ex-wife, who at the time, technically they were still married. They did not get divorced until after his disappearance,
Right.
which is big because he couldn't show up to be divorced. You know, they served him in the paper, the newspaper. That's how they got the divorce to go through without him being there.
Yeah.
I believe that what I uncovered embarrassed religiously and morally the family. Not only with Jonathan Estes, but with Cindy, their lifestyle being a big thing about it. And I wanted to go public. I wanted more media. I wanted to get this story out there. I wanted more people to know exactly what was going on behind closed doors. And as soon as I was getting ready to go on a couple of drive time morning radio shows about this, which I thought was a great idea, the more people that know, the better. The family cut me off, and I didn't hear from anybody for 2 weeks. I called Mr. Estes back several times. I had been talking to his daughter,
Mhm.
who is very, very good at this, but she does not have a background in this.
Yeah.
She is not licensed in this in any state. She has a knowledge of what is going on, and she helped me quite a bit. Listen, you don't have to be a private investigator to uncover things. There was just a case a couple of days ago where somebody used Google Earth to find a vehicle that had been missing for 20 years. We see that all over the place. But this is not what you do full time. This is very difficult to do if you have a day job at UPS or you're a school teacher. So I believe the family did not want me to go public. I think I was a little bit too flashy. I think I was a little bit too hard-edged. And I think that some of the stuff I uncovered about Jonathan's lifestyle didn't make him look like a great guy that was missing.
Yeah.
But whether he was a great guy, a moral guy, bottom line is he's still missing. And that's exactly what I wanted to get out there. And they totally cut me off. Now, in the last couple of months, I've had calls from other people that say they're private investigators or related with the family that want my information. And I say, well, have the family call me. I'll give you anything you want, but have the family call me. I don't know you. And that never happened. One of the biggest aspects in this, and this is very important, John, very, very important, is sometimes when these cases don't get solved and the family's frustrated, what's the first thing they say? The police are involved.
Right.
Let me tell you something. The police are involved in this case, but they are not keeping this case from being solved. I dealt with everybody, including the chief of police, the sheriff, and the detective, Leslie Falvey. They were all extremely polite. They were forthcoming. They did everything I asked them to do, which they don't have to do. Hell, private investigators, as I told you earlier in the show, are not licensed.
Mhm.
In the state of Mississippi. We're knuckleheads, right?
Yeah.
They went and did different things for me in that area, and they asked and did everything I wanted them to do, and they gave me answers to everything I wanted. Now, did they do that to the family initially? No. They had 300 cases on their logs. He's one guy on the bottom of the pile who was 7, 8 months and nothing. So the family was a little bit more obviously emotionally invested. When I got into the case, Leslie Falvey was the first person I talked to, and he couldn't have been more kind and polite and respectful of what I was trying to do. He wanted to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the family wanted to say that the cops were behind it. They know where the body is. They're not coming after the girl who might be involved in this. The ex-wife isn't being looked at. Was there some oversights by law enforcement? Sure. Nobody's perfect. But law enforcement, ladies and gentlemen, and John, is the best in the world at what they do. Very, very, very rare that cops are behind this. Okay. So was there some police officers involved in this case? Former cops, 100%. I'll explain that to you. But was law enforcement behind this guy missing? No. Is it an easy out? Yes. And what do we see on every investigation Discovery Channel and every television show and YouTube video that any knucklehead wants to put out there? It makes it more interesting if the cops had something to do with it. So a lot of the stuff that you see out there is not the norm.
Yeah.
It's the minority of what happens, but it makes for better television, radio, and websites. The police are not involved in this kid's disappearance, and the family did not want to hear that.
I mean, I think I can easily understand. I mean, you're right. Those stories are already gravitating to the surface and they're grabbing our attention. But when we are talking about small town politics, a lot of connectivity, everyone knows everyone. I think the risk of that is obviously larger than if you're talking metropolitan area, millions of people. The connectivity isn't quite there for that type of, if it is a conspiracy or whatever it is. But also I wanted to touch on something with Melissa, and I really appreciated the effort that I saw by her to raise exposure to the story, to get out there and do that. And you being a former football guy, I know you understand the power of a team. And I think that's really important. It's something I always try to drive with the channel is you're really trying to put a team together, and you have to have law enforcement be a part of that. If you've got a PI, they've got to be a part of that. Someone has to be the family point person. And sometimes one family member or a few will be kind of the media face. And to your point, you're trying to get the information out there and you're trying to grab the attention so that the right tips can be called in or the right information can come your way and you can give out that reward. Sometimes, and we know that it's almost, there's this weird entertainment aspect. You know, if I'm reading an article and it's a private investigator talking about his investigation, that's one level of attention it's going to get. If it's a family member crying about their missing brother and how they're never going to stop working for him, that's a whole different level of attention. So I kind of get where there's benefits each way you go about it. That's why we present things like we do here on the channel where, you know.
And these people are lucky to have you. And there was one small caveat in that. When I do this, okay, first of all, the best private investigators in the world are women. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to tell you why, in my experience. Ego. Guys have egos. It gets to be a pissing contest, okay? With law enforcement, with this guy, with that. And a lot of private investigators, as I stated before, some of them are former military or law enforcement. They have a little bit of an edge to them, and they're used to being in charge. Women make the best private investigators, especially for missing persons. I don't know why that is, but in my estimation, that's always been the case. I don't have an ego. I try to take that from female private investigators. Anybody who wants to call me and at any time has my cell phone number, I answer the phone 24 hours a day. I'll talk to anybody. I don't care if you're a psychic. I had them call me. I don't care who you think you are. I'll take your call. And I got a lot of calls on this case from all kinds of people, and they weren't just after the money. They wanted to be involved. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not entertainment. This is a family who has a son that's missing, probably deceased.
Right.
And people look at this stuff on the internet and they do a couple of Google searches and all of a sudden they think they're private investigators, and it's not how it works. So there was a caveat in this story. We're towards the end, and with the exception of this, the only time I am not forthcoming, and I have control of this, as I told Mr. Estes from the beginning, you're going to take your hand off the steering wheel, and I'm going to be in charge of this. Now, I'm not saying that that is an ego thing, but you have to let me do what I'm trained to do. This is what I do. Every bit as much as if I was going to go ahead and operate on you and you looked at me and said, hey, Doc, here's how I want you to start the operation. No. You've been doing this for a year. You've been doing this for 9 months and you've gotten nowhere. You paid me good money to do it. Let me do my job. He wanted me and to take, there was a little bit of he's an ex-military. He's a war hero from Vietnam. There was some a little bit of compatibility right there. There was some tension there towards the end, and he wanted to sort of take this over after I gave him information that he didn't have. All of a sudden, he had a little bit of runway, and he wanted to take off with it. And he wanted me to come into town and meet with some people. I didn't think that was a good idea. And that was the last time I had talked to him. They may think that that's part of the reason. He seemed to want to take this thing over and do it his way, where the way I was doing it was getting them further than they'd ever been before. And that might be something as well. So if you're going to hire somebody to do something and you don't want them to do it anymore, fire them.
Yeah.
But if you want them to work on the case, don't hijack it from them any more than if you went into a doctor's office. Does that make sense, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So let's get into some of the details. And the first detail that I want to clear up here is Boca Chico is actually, there's two in the state of Mississippi, which I didn't know until I put that video out, and everyone's letting me know, hey, John, you're talking about the wrong one. The one that we're actually referring to where this is going down is in Lincoln County. And that is considerably farther south than the one that I referred to in the last episode. So just to clear that up, and a big thank you to all the commenters that brought that up. We've already cleared up the tattoo information. What is the last known contact that actually happened with Jonathan? Is it the call to his friend? Is it him being picked up by the neighbor across the street? What's the very last point of contact we know was him?
Boy, depending on who you ask, you'll get a different answer. It's like snowflakes. Let me tell you what I found out. And this goes back to the moral issue of this story. Jonathan Estes had about 6 girlfriends at the time that he was married. Both couples were heavily involved in swinger websites, dating websites. That's a fact. I found that out. The family at the time that they hired me, nobody ever found the telephone right off the bat. It was later found. Nobody had a call log, credit card information. They did not have social media information. Nobody could get into any of his Facebook pages. As far as they knew, nobody knew what his last contact was, except that there had been some text messages to the sheriff's department. And I want to say there was a Detective Johnson, it was a black guy. There's 2 Johnsons, I believe, there. And he texted him. I could text you right now, John, and it could be me or it could be Tiger Woods. That doesn't mean John did it. It means the person that had his phone did.
Right.
The last person to speak to Jonathan Estes was a girlfriend of his up in Wheeling, West Virginia. Now, while this was an issue, is on both sides, and you're going to find out that this is the same thing in the story all the way around. The girl that he was seeing in Wheeling, West Virginia, who looked like Cameron Diaz, beautiful girl. John had a lot of girlfriends, partner. Now, his marriage was crumbling. He was not living with her. She gets a bad rap for this, and I'm not sticking up for her, but looked like Cameron Diaz, but I looked her up, and everything pointed to her. I had found plane tickets that showed that she had flown to Texas to meet with him. He was an on-the-road construction worker, Pensacola area. They had seen each other for quite some time. I even had pictures of them in a gym together at a hotel that they spent time at. But she had been in a relationship for 5 years. Jonathan had been married. The last person to speak to Jonathan on the phone and hear his voice was this woman, Virginia, who I spoke with several times and begged to call the police. She did not know she was the last person to speak with him and just figured he disappeared and went back to the guy she was with, who had no idea she had this relationship with Jonathan Estes. The problem with this woman is in her background, as I do a background check on everybody, it's part of what I do. She had a rap sheet. She was a former prostitute in the state of Florida. She was busted for prostitution in the state of Florida. I don't know if once a prostitute, always a prostitute like a governor, but she had that background. When I got a hold of her and was able to reach her, a guy answered the phone. And I says, Jesus, if Jonathan Estes is alive, this is him. He's in West Virginia. Nobody knows about this girl. He had 6 of these women. Well, the girl in West Virginia I spoke to, but her boyfriend answered the phone first. And I asked him, I says, is this Jonathan? He goes, who's Jonathan Estes? He goes, I've been with my girlfriend for 6 years. I says, has she ever been to Houston, Texas or to Pensacola? He said, no. I says, you sure your name's not Jonathan Estes? I says, if it is, I'm on my way up there. I know who you are now. He said, partner, I don't even know what you're talking about. My girlfriend and I have been together for 6 years. So she didn't want to go to the cops. She didn't want to say what she knew because she would lose the relationship and the person she was living with. She was cheating on him and he was cheating on his wife. You see where this is going?
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the things that family did not want out there, but it's what needs to be out there because it's the absolute truth. Last person to hear Jonathan Estes on the phone was one of his 6 girlfriends in West Virginia, who I believe works in the tech industry or in the tech industry and is a former prostitute who he had a very, he is a
I'm hoping I have help on the way. And I'm going to get my bedroom suite, one couch, the TV, the Wii, just like we discussed.
You just stay right there in that doorway until the cops get.
I'm staying here. I know the law. I just got off the phone with an attorney before you called me. And I can call her back right now. The divorce papers that you have are not legal. And you were trying to make me sign those in order to get my personal possessions.
Hey, did you put this oven off?
All I'm doing is standing right here at the door till they get here. Love you. I missed you. I big love you, huh? Missed you so much. You come see Daddy this weekend? Let me see you too. Come here, buddy. Come on. Give me a hug. Your stuff. I'm taking my stuff. And it's our stuff by Mississippi state law. I was not going to take anything that we had not agreed to.
I hope you know it's all now.
That's
I'll
fine.
use everything I have to make sure that you never see those kids again.
That's perfectly fine. You cannot do that. And I'm telling you, I have proof on my phone right now that you cannot do that. I know what you've been up to. I know about all your accounts and your swinging and the couple that you met up with last Friday night when you were at the Days Inn with your friends from work.
You don't know the crap.
Yes, I do. I've got proof on my phone.
I didn't do that shit.
Well, I got proof on my phone of you saying otherwise. I do. Do you want to see it?
You can show me whatever you want, but I don't have any kind of accounts.
Okay. You're not on Kick Messenger?
No.
Yeah. I've got, otherwise prove it. You're Kathy Smith.
No, I'm pretty sure my name's Cindy Estes.
On there, I've got in messages where you said that I'm on here as Kathy Smith because I have to use a fake name because of weirdos out here. You failed to disclose the fact that you were using a fake name on there with your pictures to prove that it was you, and that you met with a couple last Friday night. You know I'm telling the truth. And I'll be happy to show you the proof of it.
You can make any fake whatever you want to.
I'm not making fake. It came straight from your phone. So how about that? It did. I've got it in text message where it was sent from your phone. Now, your son found it. Your son was so embarrassed.
So that's why your son was accusing me of having a boyfriend.
Well, he said, Daddy, he said, Daddy, I have found this on her phone. He called me and said, I found this on her phone, and there's over 15 people, was his exact words. Mm-hmm. And
So
he,
much for a civil separation, huh?
well, I wasn't going to bring it to this. I wanted civil. I was just going to take my stuff and I was going to leave.
No, you were going to take my stuff.
No, I'm not taking your stuff. It's our stuff.
It's what you were taking.
We were, what?
Everything.
No, I was not.
Like glimmering.
No, I was not. I was going to take, I have not told Bryce what I was taking.
He told me all about it. You got a 3-bedroom house. You need furniture to fill it.
I have a 3-bedroom house, but I was only going to take what we had agreed on. And that's all I'm going to take. I'm taking the TV, one couch, the Wii, my bedroom suit, my guns, my clothes, and all the personal possessions. It's mine. My hunting stuff. You can keep your bow. Taking my quiver off the bow, but you can keep the bow. We'll see what the judge has to say about it. But you know I'm telling the truth. You know that last Friday night, you met up with.
Had drinks with friends, and that's what I told you to do.
That's not what your messages say. With your pictures on them,
Whatever.
off of your Kick account. You just deleted the account a while ago on your phone. See? Now. But you know what? They can still pull that back up and show where it was you. Your profile picture, I've looked it up on Kick. It's a picture of Mississippi with cotton fields in the middle of it. I'll get down and dirty with you. But I have proof, just like you have proof of me making mistakes in this marriage. I've got it too. I'll have Shane Duvall, which was a Brookhaven police officer. I'll have him subpoenaed to court to testify.
That 10 years ago, you thought we were having an affair?
No, you told me. I've still got proof of that too, because you know, with Chris, I got all the messages printed out and put on my phone. They're in a locked account. So I do have proof. Just like I have proof of what you've been doing since you kicked me out of this house last weekend.
I'm sure judges really don't care what happened 10 years ago.
Well, it's a part of our marriage. It's all grounds for divorce.
Well, where's your proof that
And
I've done drugs?
It's all
But I'm
it's
drunk
all
and drove.
adultery.
Not even drunk and
It's
drove.
all-
Drunk and drove with my kids in the vehicle.
No, I have not.
So you
That
were
it-
drunk when you left Will that night.
His word against my word. There's no. They sit there and watch while you got your stuff, put it in the car, and left.
Only because they couldn't.
That's I wasn't in Montana. Anything about where I was, it may. I don't want. There's no proof on anything. So,
That's where you talk to your friends.
well, you got. Why? Because I told my son that I was going to come in here and get my personal belongings and leave
You told your son to lie
without-
to his mother.
without
Her
coming.
father does that.
Well, this comes from the same person who also told their kids all kinds of lies about me and has tried everything she can do in the last 2.5 weeks to turn my kids
All I told
against
you
me.
is the truth. The reason you had to leave was because you were talking to another woman again.
And so then you go and talk to 15 people, and then you sleep with a couple last Friday night.
I didn't sleep with anybody.
Yes, you did. You got it in message.
No, you don't.
They're all leaving. Man. Yes, you get give them the wrong address.
You know, it's because your dumb mailbox don't have any numbers on it. They don't know where 2022 is.
Well, that's the dumb mailbox you wanted. I built it for you.
No, I told you it's more like freaking.
Back to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at a cold case. This one dates all the way back to June of 2018. We're going to be exploring the missing persons case of Jonathan Estes, and there's a lot to unpack in this case, guys. Jonathan was only 36 years old at the time that he went missing. He would be 40 years old today, and he left behind a family that loves and misses him very dearly. There's a lot that points to foul play, especially on the part of Jonathan's ex-wife, and we're going to get into that as we go through the information on the case. I do want to say I don't generally like to make accusations against anybody. However, when we start going through the information and everything that's transpired since Jonathan went missing, you will understand why I say that his ex-wife seems very suspicious. But I do also want you to remember that all people are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, Jonathan was 36 years old at the time of his disappearance. As I said, he would be 40 years old today. He is 6'1" tall and weighs between 150 and 175 pounds, with brown eyes and brown hair. Jonathan was last seen on the 1st of June 2018 in Bogachito, Mississippi. He had met with his ex-wife on May the 31st, 2018, with divorce papers. Now, his truck was later found abandoned near his old home on Wallace Road not long after he was contacted by phone by investigators who had wanted to question him on allegations of domestic violence against his ex-wife. Those charges had been filed on the 31st of May 2018. However, John has not been seen or heard from since that time, and there's been no bank or social media activity from him. And it's very important to note that those charges were dropped as there was absolutely no proof of any type of abuse. In addition to the above description of John that I said earlier, he does have an eagle tattoo on his back. Anyone that has information about John or his whereabouts is asked to either contact the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department at 601-833-5231, Crime Stoppers at 601-823-0150. You can contact the Missouri Bureau of Investigations at 601-948-5000. We're going to go and we're going to dig into the case. And the first thing that I want to mention is that weeks had passed by. John was still missing. And what remained of his life in Bogachito began to go missing too. The mobile home on Wallace Road, that property was, according to one of John's friends, gotten rid of. Carl Estes, John's father, said that Cindy, who is John's ex-wife, sold all of John's belongings. Mr. Estes had gotten notification that his son's truck, the one that was found and returned to Cindy, had been repossessed. Then Cindy moved with their children to a new town. On August the 15th of 2018, Cindy privately messaged John's friends on Facebook to ask for testimony against John so she could file for divorce. She was looking for people willing to testify that John had cheated on her and abused her. Nobody was willing to testify to something they had never seen. On September the 18th of 2018, John's sister Melissa walked into the Lee County Sheriff's Department, the police agency nearest where she lived in Tupelo, Mississippi, and filed a missing persons report. According to Melissa, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office had refused to take a missing persons report on John because he was already listed in the National Criminal Information Center. Now, this was likely as a wanted person because of the pending assault charges brought by Cindy, but those charges, as I said, were later dropped because they had zero merit. In October, the grand jury considering the case against John did ascertain that there was no proof to Cindy's allegations and ordered all charges dismissed. Now, Cindy has also been able to get a divorce with her husband being missing. Explain to me how a person is able to get their divorce to go through when the other party is a missing person. It makes no sense to me, but it is what it is. And one of the things that I do want to make very clear in covering John's case is that this isn't fodder for true crime drama and creators to come out and make a shit show out of John's case. I want this case covered with integrity, and I want to just state the facts as they are and what's out there and what's public knowledge. John is a father, a son, a brother, and a friend of many. And this is real life. And the family is slowly getting closer and closer with each passing day to finding out the truth of what happened to John. They're praying that it won't be long now, and time is short for those who know something and they aren't speaking up. The time to do the right thing is here. There is no guilt in it. If you know something, you should say something. It's time to bring John home. No matter what you've heard, what you've seen, someone out there knows something, and now it's time to bring your knowledge and stand up and do the right thing. Guys, this family has been missing this man for 4 years. One of the other things that really struck my attention is that there was a public notice that was published in a paper for the adoption of John's children. Um, the family did make a post on Facebook saying that they've seen the public notice, and well, I'm going to quote what they said. They said, to say that we're angry and hurt is an understatement. John being missing, vanished without a trace, is like a stab in the heart, but trying to rip his children away from him when he cannot respond or defend his rights, that is twisting the knife. John will always be those children's father. Estes' blood is their blood, and no piece of paper or anyone can change that. Don't ever forget that. And I agree with the family. This is heartless to try to let someone adopt John's kids when he's not there to defend himself. Just like the divorce, I don't understand. How can you have a divorce go through? Which honestly, John's far better off without this woman in his life. Just my personal opinion on that. But there's a lot here that makes Cindy look very suspicious. Cindy never reported John missing. It took his sister, Melissa, to report him missing. John had not been seen since the 31st of May. He didn't get reported missing until September the 18th of 2018. And part of that is because you would assume the spouse would report their husband missing. That never happened. And so you've got that period of time from the 31st of May through the 18th of September where that was valuable time that was wasted in trying to find John or find out what happened to him. You've got a wife that gets rid of all of his possessions, starts selling everything off, goes through with a divorce, is not concerned about trying to find the husband at all. And on top of that, there have been people ripping down John's missing persons flyers. And you have to ask yourself, why would someone do that? Who would do that? I personally think, just my opinion, that it's Cindy. And I think the reason why she's doing it is that she has some guilty knowledge or that she did do something to John. But again, that's my speculation. That's my theory. That's my belief. And everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But if you take the sum of everything that we're talking about right now, it certainly paints a picture, and it doesn't paint Cindy in a very good light. And so we need to get John's face out here. We need to start getting more attention on John's case. I do know that the family is attempting to set up a GoFundMe. I think they've already established it, and I will put the link to the GoFundMe in the description box of this video. They need to hire private investigators to take on this case because law enforcement hasn't gotten very far with it. And that is sad. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who they should be questioning, but according to family, Cindy has not been questioned according to the documents that the police have in the missing persons file because she refuses to answer any questions. Well, it's great that she wants to refuse to answer questions. Get a warrant. There is enough circumstantial evidence to get a warrant for her arrest and bring her in to ask her the questions that you need to ask her. It's ridiculous that this man has been missing for this long. Why did she sell all of his belongings? Why did she let his truck go back? There hasn't been any bank activity on his accounts. There hasn't been any contact with family. There's no way that this man would willingly abandon his children that he loved so deeply. This is so out of character for John. And we know, and the family knows, that they realize that the likelihood of finding Jonathan alive at this point is slim. But they need closure, they need answers, they need justice for Jonathan, and Jonathan's kids need to bring Jonathan home and lay him to rest so that they have a place to properly visit him. He needs to have a proper memorial service. That's the first step towards closure for this family, is getting John home, even if the worst case scenario has happened to him. There's been a lot of theories and speculation on where he might be and who might have done what to him. But only a few people were actually there when Jonathan vanished, and they literally saw him, and unfortunately, as the case may be, probably saw him take his last breath. And I'm asking you guys, if this was your loved one, what would you do? You would want people to speak up. You would want people to start talking to law enforcement. You would want people to share these podcasts that are out covering John's case and get as many people aware of the situation as possible. My heart goes out to John's kids, to his sister, to his father, to his entire family, to everyone that loves John. And we will find out what happened to him. It's only a matter of time. Guys, what I'm asking you to do is to help me to get the word out for Jonathan's family. Help me to get them the answers that they need. What I need for you to do is to give the video a like. It does help more people to hear Jonathan's story. The more people that hear his story, that see his face, that know what happened to him, the better the chances are that we can get someone to come forward with the knowledge that's point. If you're not subscribed to the missing persons, to his family, to help his friends, of your time to do, and it
meeting was held in Brookhaven to update the community in the investigation to find Jonathan Estes. WJTV 12 Justin Devon has details on what authorities plan to do next.
1 year. That's how long Jonathan Estes has been missing, and still, his sister continues to keep searching.
I would never give up on my brother. He would never give up on me. I will never stop until I find my brother, no matter how long it takes.
His sister and the sheriff's office felt it was time to meet with the community about the case to help restore people's faith in the office and clear up any misunderstandings.
And it's been a struggle, because until October, which was four and a half months later, nobody even bothered looking for him as a missing person. So it's been a struggle, and I feel like a lot of time and evidence was lost in that.
Sheriff Rushing answered each question he could without risking the case. He even let the public know where they are in the search.
We've been trying to go back through social media, and that's been a chore dealing with social media, just getting information from them. Anywhere from Google to Facebook to anything we can to find other aspects that may show us something different.
But what was most shocking? Learning that they believe Jonathan might know that he's being tracked by deputies.
We have information, he put it out there. We talked to the person that picked him up from it. Without going into details on it, he was aware that we were looking for the truck at the time.
This is the new missing flyer for Jonathan that will have his case number and personal information on it. And if you have any information as to his whereabouts or know anything, contact one of the 2 numbers down at the bottom. Reporting in Brookhaven, Justin Devon, WJTV 12 News.
Hey, that's me. B-Rad G. Hey, yo, fool. We about to have some hardcore drama go down right about now. That's my crib. It ain't much, but it's all I got.
We all gathered here on this special occasion to listen to my pop, U.S. Coast liaison. I would have ride him, boy, but sometimes I'm not able. I kiss him on the neck, I kiss him on the mouth. I move downtown till I go at a dirty stand.
It looks like the Fed has just declared war on Americans again.
So,
because I believe
or tell
cool and all. It's people. There shouldn't be people that aren't being looked for when they're people too. You know, it don't matter what their lifestyle was or any of that. I mean, people don't just go missing, and it shouldn't just be a normal thing. So let me share screen. He went by John, known by his friends and loved ones as John. 6.8 likes, 7.2K followers. Wow. But keep in mind, he hasn't been missing for a year. You know, he's been missing since 2018, which is. Anyways, so documents. Regarding the day that I'm going to y'all, I'll leave this up on the screen for a minute so that y'all can look it over yourself, and then I'm going to just dive right into the things that stand out to me by literally like I'm line for line, and I'm you know, I'm not going to just read it or whatever, but I'm going to read the shit that is odd to me. And these are the incident reports, are, you know, when based off of the call or whatever, you know, when everything is logged when you call 911, when all the way down to when the, you know, the officers that get dispatched and they have to notify dispatch when they get there, when they leave, if they call backup. I mean, all of that is logged very, very, very meticulously. And so this is all the reports regarding the day that Jonathan disappeared, which would be June 2nd of 2018. Because keep in mind, the last thing that he said to his best friend Kevin, was that there was a police officer driving up and down the road, that he was going to go walk to the end of the driveway and ask him what, you know, see what was going on. The last one to ever make contact with him was a police officer, and he hasn't been seen again. So I think it's all worth noting that there's very weird stuff in this report that's logged, you know, like, in the fact that it's not it makes you think there's some corrupt fuckery going on. I'm just gonna say it. So 1 minute. And this is in Mississippi, I believe Lincoln County, if I'm not mistaken. Small town politics, keep that in mind too. All right, sorry about that, y'all. All right, so let me start with now the perspective, or, you know, the person writing these posts her name is Melissa, and she is John's sister. Okay, so she posted this on January the 30th of 2020. It says, going back at this point, it feels like the right thing to do. The only thing left to do, the last time John spoke to anyone, was on June 2nd, but this whole ordeal began on May the 31st. It was that day that the lies started flowing. It was that day that John hoped to start clean with a civil divorce and make a break from a toxic situation. A new beginning for him, her, and the kids. This wasn't the plan for his soon-to-be ex. She caused a scene, spewed lies about the night and her. Hold on, let me just go to see more. Spewed lies about that night and her secret life, trying to cover it up. So John ran. She chased him and hit him with her car. So he ran further into the night, ran all night. Finally, at the light of the next day, tired and exhausted, he called his neighbor for a ride. That neighbor was his friend Brittany. But now she's, hold on, the neighbor spoke up, told me what happened, but now she stopped talking and we aren't sure her side of things is documented. We need to know exactly where she picked him up and exactly what time. We plan to request those interviews if they took place, and we plan to piece. Now, they're saying that because the only person that is saying that they've talked to this woman is Jim Terry. So, us knowing what we know, that's horty that it didn't happen. And if it did, I guarantee you he's not saying what was actually said. So they, and that's another thing that, these crucial parts of the investigation are on all these cases are made up shit. So then it puts into full circle that these cases, they have nothing. So these families are left with their money that they took and a sour taste in their mouth because they're being harassed. And on top of it, they literally are more confused about what they thought they knew about their loved one because they don't know what's true or not. And it just, that is the worst thing you could do to a person in that state of mind. It's anyways, continuing. We plan to request those interviews that took place, if they took place, and we plan to piece it all back together. We have requested the official report of his ex's allegations, and we're told there wasn't one. We will scrub everything, and we've dug up, released things we've never released, like names, times, dates, all in hopes it will bring us that one break to bring John home. We are just getting started. And I absolutely am here to help, absolutely, with anything that I can. And I think just getting his name talked about is step one. And if enough people start asking and enough people start talking about it, if nothing else, it'll force the investigation to be passed over to someone will treat it, take it seriously. I can start writing letters, start a petition like I did for Alex. I mean, there's multiple things I got, and I'm not going to do anything like that in an official manner until I get, the approval from a family that because I wouldn't want to cross boundaries or mess with anything they have going. And but I'm in the works of doing that. But I don't want to make this about it being Jim's case, because that's the smallest reason of why I'm doing this, but I do think it's worth mentioning that he does this to a certain type of case, a certain type of family, a certain type of, a situation that he preys on. And I think it'll come first full circle without me even having to give you my opinion. I think you guys will draw the inference and come to that same conclusion yourself just by, oh my God, look at these, look, it sticks out like a sore thumb that he deems these people to be, they're not able to fight back. So he thinks they're easy prey. So let's start getting into this document, or these documents. We got, and I know a lot of you can't see, so I said I was only going to read the lines that stick out, but that wouldn't be fair. So I'm just going to start from top to bottom for the ones that can't see, and the ones that can, I'm sorry. Incident date and time says 5/31/18. I don't know military time, so I'm going to read it what it is. I don't know if anybody in chat can translate it into what it means. I would love to know, but it says 22:01:01. Incident number and a complaint operator number and how reported. I don't know what any of these numbers mean. I'm just reading it as they say. Sheriff incident, ? Why, which I guess yes. Then there's a timestamp for 22:01:01. Dispatcher number. Then sheriff dispatched. Then I guess initials, I have no idea. Dispatch address. Jean Road / BTW Arlington / London. Now I don't know what the hell that other roads mean, but I do know the name of the road that John stayed on was Jean Road. But I don't know what the other ones, what that means. If maybe there were other roads, I have no idea. Okay, incident type, complaint general. Then entered as emergency agencies. Then it says closed type. incident type, and you know, these just a bunch of numbers. Then when you get down to where it says Gene Road, it says complaint general, dispatcher remarks, sheriff incident closed by this officer, their position, and a date. Then it says called unit history log, 5/31/2018, 22:01. I mean, these are all just minutes apart. You got arrives on scene, Gene Road, dispatched, unknown, cross street, I guess, dispatched, Gene Road, dispatched, unknown, cross street, dispatched, Gene Road. Okay, now we have additional info. Okay, this is where it starts to get, this is where the fuckery starts, y'all. Wrecker requested, coroner requested. Let me just, do I need to say anything else? What the fuck? That escalated quickly. What? Don't play with me. So that's another thing. When we start going through the investigative process, y'all are gonna get it raw. Like this is, if I was doing this on my own, I would be yelling at, you know, what the, just like that, and making my husband where, you know, it seems so interesting. What are you talking about? And I do that so that I bait him into where, you know, now I'm not talking to myself because, you know, I'm talking to him, because it would be kind of crazy if I told you I sat here and talk to myself all day. Next one. Okay. We got I think it's supposed to say female, but it says D-male. Comp stated ex-husband was hiding behind a tree. When she started to leave her driveway, she stated she hit him. Cynthia and Jonathan is Estes. Okay, then we have fire incident closed by officer in position. 10:25, no subject located once on scene. I guess it's the code. Flashing lights from inside trailer. Male suspect was not located. Okay, sheriff incident closed by same one. Now keep in mind, this is the same officer. Now I would love to know if there's a way that we can find out if this code, you know, this officer, whatever it is that they you know, documented as logging it. I would love to know if it's the same one that he had the evidence of her sleeping with, because boy, would that just make shit get real, you know, a lot more. Don't even, let me just continue. There's some fuckery going on in this case, major fuckery. I mean, and it's obvious to me that I mean, I can't tell you for a fact what happened, but I can tell you that I think these circumstances leading up to it make it almost seem obvious that, okay, well, maybe there was a reason why this said officer had reason to make said person disappear, because he had evidence of this affair and was coming to bringing it to light, it threatened to bring it, show her parents, and there's another religious aspect of it, and obviously it wouldn't look good to the, I'm assuming that the cop had a family of his own. I'd imagine that's not too good, and not to mention it makes you look bad when you do stuff like that and you hold a badge. You're supposed to be held to a higher standard, so you would think. Apparently not. So call unit history log. Now L26, I can only assume when it goes from L to just this, does that mean it goes from lieutenant to KD? I mean, I have no idea what these codes mean, but you can see the same one is used. You know, there's only two involved because these, you know, their log numbers are, you know, just, so I would say dispatched, en route, dispatched, en route, in area, arrived on scene. Additional info. Record requested, coroner requested. Next one. Closed incident report. This is still on the 31st. Now we're at 20:59:39. This is to Wallace Drive. Complaint general and medical assistance, medical aid. So issue report number I don't even know. Maybe that's her house or her where she's at, because I don't. He lived on Jean Road. Anyways, so all these numbers. Then you get down here to incident type changed to medical med. Complaint general. Unit to area equals L26. Date 5/31/18. Time 21/16/25. Unit in the area 21/19 time. So this is 3 minutes. Okay. Dispatcher. Close call. No report. What the fuck are you talking about? Is this a way? Listen, if this paperwork went down like this in my county, the superiors would look at it and they'd be like, "What the fuck? You can't just close it with no incident, no report. That would get an investigation started on you. That's not going by the book." And I don't know much about by the book, but I can tell you this is not the fucking way that investigations or calls should be handled. Period. And I think it's a little suspicious that this one specifically was handled that way because of the backstory. Continuing. Our call. Assigned scene. Medical assistance, medical aid. Fire unit extracted from incident. Okay, what does that mean? Extracted. That means where they were removed from the incident, like they were ran off, because that's how I translate it. And then on the notes up here in pen, you got written in L26CO Quinn, L21A Montgomery, and L24C Wiltshire. I don't. It's written in pen, so I just figured it was worth noting. Okay, keep going. Here we got Lincoln County, January 28th, 2019. GTR K9 search team has been instrumental in working a wilderness cadaver cold case search for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office on January 28, 2019 on Wallace Drive. Okay, so that is okay, that makes sense now. So that is the address of the home where Cindy, soon to be ex-wife or whatever, the estranged wife, where she lived, which up until 3 weeks prior they had lived together, shared the home with the children, but he had just recently rented his own place because of how bad how they had gotten. They've been fighting and whatever, so he got a place of his own. She was there with the children, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the property is owned by her family, maybe her dad, but don't quote me on that. I'm sure by the end of this live stream we'll know, because I'll deep dive it with y'all. But from what I've heard so far, it's it's her family. And it was a trailer on several acres of property. So says with their assistance, 2 locations were searched, including residential, small pond, wooded areas, large areas of cow pastures, and also a silo pit. The approximate time of operation was 6 hours, not including 8 hours of travel time. Handlers and canines involved, and they're all named. And then it names the information for the search and rescue team. Awesome. Okay, now next. Condition 62 degrees, clear, southern wind 1.8 mile per hour, humidity 49%, dew point 43 degrees, pressure 30 point, I don't even know what that means, visibility 10 miles. At the end of search, it was 61 degrees, winds 0 mile per hour, dew point 38 degrees, and visibility 10 miles. Action taken. Kathy Doty was at K9 RIP flankers, Carrie Condra, Tyler Jones and Danette Maples investigate Huff and whatever. Started search time 12 o'clock, ended at 12:32 p.m. From mobile home site GPS, and those are the latitude and longitude. K9 had a change of behavior, showing a lot of interest in structure flat on ground, porch, and it gives GPS locations. K9 did not demonstrate his trained alert at this time. We searched around the pond in the wooded area. Now we have at 12:35. This is when the search started, and it ended at 1:37 p.m. K9 also showed strong. Her find then moved a wooded area and pond with no changes of behavior from the canine. Now another canine started its search time 2:15, ended search 2:47 p.m. GPS of parked vehicle in a cow pasture gave the location of that. Team searched outer perimeter of woods adjacent to the woods searched by mobile home with no change in behavior by canine. So then you have search time ended at 2:18, or started at 2:18, ended at 2:40. To location that Mr. Estes' truck was located, truck had already been towed or removed from property. No changes of behavior was presented by canine. Move back over to 2720 Wallace Drive mobile home area to search with other canine. Okay, now this is a different canine. This one's name is Zor. Said he started search at 2:59 and ended search time at 3:36 p.m. Reading of conditions listed above as they had changed. Zor started his search in the same as all the above canines. Canine was drawn into the same flat structure with strong changes of behavior. He then presented with his final response, sit, when we then noticed drainage from a large silage pit, guessing 75 yards long. 15 to 20 feet wide and 15 or more feet deep, full of debris. Canine first presented strong changes of behavior at rolled up carpet under padding material. Y'all, I'm gonna circle back to this. I'm gonna keep going. What the? Oh yeah. Okay. Canine handler tried to penetrate best they could deeper into this pit. They also crawled down into this pit, and both of them did. Some pics taken with cell phone. Canine handler could not penetrate this area. Conclusion: 3 of the canines demonstrated strong changes of behavior, with 2 canines giving final response to the odor of human remains. Canine Zor did try to penetrate the silage pit, showing extreme frustration not being able to pinpoint his target area. Briefed with LE and left search around 4:00 p.m. Case pending. You guys, I have so many problems with that. So many. Because what? Okay. Let me. I'm going to pull up chat and see what y'all think. Shitty. And to defend and thing like that, and this happened. Dang, are y'all still going? Oh, go to location of search. Give the address. And west of property, cattle pasture field, possible location of Jonathan Estes pickup truck. Search team names them all here. Kathy D, K9 Rip, a 10-year-old Belgian Malinois. I don't know how to say that. A canine, a 9-year-old Belgian, whatever the brand of dog. 2-year-old one, 4-year-old one, and a Columbus Fire Rescue canine man trailing handler and canine flanker. I don't know what none of those mean, but I'm sure some of you do, and there you go. Maybe you can help me. Personal present. So I'm assuming that means who was present. Okay, first let me go back. Let me go look at what y'all are saying in chat, because I want to make sure that is that what that means, is that this is who was present or anything planned or whatever. Then I'm just gonna, because February the 9th, 2020. Now, mind you, that would owner of 62 acres. That's very important. Very important. Because, and I'll come right back to this. Let me read you what Jonathan's sister Melissa wrote with these documents. This is on February the 9th, 2020. Now, mind you, that would be right at, creeping up on the 2-year anniversary from when he went missing, when she posted this. So it says, while we are on the subject of searching the property John and Cindy shared, there actually has been search teams on that property. Sadly, the search revealed more questions than answers. The search on January 28, 2019 was conducted with 4 separate dogs and several handlers. 3 of the dogs demonstrated strong changes of behavior, and 2 of the dogs gave a final response to the odor of human remains. The report indicates that the owner of the property was a Wesley Moak at 2720 Wallace Drive, Boca Chica. I have conducted many searches, looked through the Lincoln County GIS map, and I cannot find a place of land with 62 acres owned by a Wesley Moak. No one has ever talked to in Lincoln County knows who or has heard of this person. Furthermore, the land that John and Cindy lived on was not at that address. It was not 62 acres and was transferred via warranty deed and owned by Cindy. The address at 2720 Wallace is owned by someone entirely different. The only indication of where the teams were searching that lines up to where they were supposed to be is the GPS coordinates that the lead handler wrote up in the report. Questions? Who is Wesley Moak? Why it was in the address? Why the address and the owner information given to the handler completely off? If the dogs indicated to the odor of human remains, why wasn't there a search warrant obtained and every inch of that land thoroughly searched? Why was that property allowed to be cleaned up and items removed? If you have answers to these questions, please contact us. What the fuck, y'all? What the fucking fuck? I mean, what the fucking fuck? Okay, and the rest of this page says Byron Catchings, Captain, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, Investigator Barry Huff, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, and Investigator Leslie Falvey, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. Okay, so how was this guy present if he don't exist? And he signed his initials. Somebody that this person was there and present. Who? What? What the? Okay. Anyways, handlers qualifications. All handlers are current members of GTR Canine Search Team. All canines have current certifications, have participated in several searches with results in locating human remains or entire bodies, wilderness and water. Kathy Doty trained in work canines in man trailing and HRD since 2000. Current certification HRD with both canine RIP and NEA, or RIP and NEA, whatever that means. Current member of the USPCA with yearly HRD certification since 2010. Cadaver canine handler, Lowndes County Sheriff's Department, Columbus Fire and Rescue. Danette Maples trained in work canines, man trailing, and HRD for 5 years. Has certified canine in both disciplines with yearly current certifications, HRD with canine also. A current member of USPCA and APWDA. Carrie Condra trained and worked canines with GTR team for 5 years. Has certified and trained canines for several years earlier. She has current HRD certifications with Canine Zor and Canine Mako. Has also certified canines in article search and man trailing. A current member of USPCA. Tyler Jones trained and worked canine for 1 year. Is a Columbus Fire and Rescue with Columbus, Mississippi Fire Department. It is a current canine handler in man trailing. Date of report, January 30th, 2019. Report written by Kathy Doty and reviewed by Carrie Condra and Danette Maples. And then it's got their information. Okay. And this is the last one, and we'll wrap it up for this one. Deeds and Records Link, Lincoln County, Mississippi. Current date, 3/28/2019. Okay, and you see what they did there? I think they're searching and trying to find Moak. They searched the last name Moak. And as you see, there's a there's Moak Danny R. And it says for the second name, it's Southern Ag Credit, ACA. And then there's a date filed in 2013, and I don't know what the numbers are. Instrument, I don't know what that means. Okay, then there's Danny Moak Danny. Okay, there's no hold on, like, let me go back over here. Wesley. No, it almost made me forget the name. Like, there's a Danny Ray, a Danny Ray, a Darlene, and David. There's no Wesley Moak. Okay, so how the let's just start there, because there's no, I don't even understand how the fuck this was. I don't have words for the amount of what the fuck I feel in my heart right now. I'm sorry, I'm a little Twitter pated. What the fuck, Lincoln County? Are you fucking kidding me? What? So, yeah, I'm only just getting started. We're only just get started. Whatever. I don't like to speak for everybody because I can't. I'm not forcing you to look into this, but this one is it's fucking, it screams fuckery all day long, and I don't think that I think this family, Jonathan's family, because I'm not going to say that I'm not going to be like the police department and classify them and say, that they're, but they don't come from money. And I think that's a big factor in why this has been done this way, because there's no, you gotta, when you can stand up against a whole police department and, and with no money and no backing and no nothing but your voice and your proof, and, and think that they're not just going to laugh at you. And that's almost what's happened, the poor sister, for crying out loud, they wouldn't even allow her to report him missing until 4 months later, because they said that they can't report someone missing that is actively being looked for by the police, because they if there's a criminal investigation open, you can't report someone missing. And I'm thinking to myself, what, since fucking when is that a thing? Like, oh no, if somebody has a warrant, they're not allowed to go missing. What the fuck are you talking about? Why would you tell her that? She had to go to her local police department in another county. It was still in Mississippi, and I think it was Lee County, and file a police report. And they finally took the report, because the where he went missing at would not even take her report, just laughed her out the door. That's not right. And and by the time this police department in the county she lives near got involved, you realize how much evidence is just pure ass gone. That's so sad. And it's wrong, and it shouldn't be happening. You can't just get a badge and take an oath and protect and serve, and then use your badge to be a fucking terrorist like this, because that's what you've done to this family. You terrorized this family, and pretty much said, not only did we allegedly may or may not be involved in why it disappeared, but we're going to rub your nose in it and just put salt in the wound every step of the way too. Can you imagine? I would. Oh man. And it okay, so, and this is one last thing. This is from 2019, March 1st. Below is a post from his ex-wife, Cindy. Notice how she's playing the victim. To date, she is the only person I know who has referred to the death of my brother. Okay? Keep that in mind. I spent 13 years trying to make my marriage to an alcoholic adulterer work. First of all, I'm not even going to get started, because that bitch is going to burn in hell. Let me just say that. Oh my Lanta. Are you blah, blah, blah. I mean, and posting this so that his family can read this is like, do you have no low? Like, is it already not enough that you did it and got, I don't care what, but you did it, bitch, and got away with it, and then you're going to taunt? Because you're taunting them. Like, ha ha, you know it, I know it, but you can't do anything about it. You're a fucking bitch. Evil, and you should not be the fucking sole caregiver for them children, because you're fucking unhinged. Anyways, but I couldn't control his life choices. How about you worry about your own and maybe start there, Mrs. fucking pot call kettle black, you dirty whore. Sorry, he wasn't having affairs with members of the police department, so his is so much more morally wrong. Yeah, because he doesn't have anybody to cover it up like you do, you dirty hooker. Sorry, y'all. Y'all, I feel like y'all know and should expect this by now. Like, I can't help it, and just I get animated because it's fucking bullshit. It's just bullshit. I need a Mountain Dew. I'll be right back. Got the cotton mouth. Never mind, I have one right here. So, after being separated a few months, John came to my house, their house, held a gun. Are you kidding me? Held a gun to my head while he raped me, and I had no control to stop it. Are you fucking kidding me, lady? This right here is a prime example of why Marzi had to go. You, as a woman, have the power and capability and to call 911 or go into your local police department and say some things like that, and you're taken on your word, and now that person is in the view of the public, even if the charges get dropped, it will forever be documented that you were investigated as a sexual predator. That can damage somebody's life for life, regardless whether it's on your record and you didn't get charged. The fact that it comes up when you're Googled makes people take pause and hesitant, be hesitant with you, especially if it's your wife. And that freaking is just a terrible thing to do, because you get your life ripped open and investigated and looked into, and when it's all said and done, oh yeah, sorry, we were wrong. It doesn't change. The damage is already done. You're slandered, and most of the time people still take pause because they're like, well, I mean, the fact you're accused of it is enough, and in some places, jobs wise, that will be enough for you to not be considered a candidate. For one, I mean, he's going to his kids. He's coaches in his fucking kids' game. Who wants to have a coach on their little league team or an assistant coach that's been investigated for raping their wife? That's fucked up. And it takes a real fucked up, twisted, evil female to do something like that. But they are a dime a dozen. I hate to admit it, but my mother is one of them. Absolutely. And that is why I can't fucking stand it. And it makes me fucking mad. And as a victim of it, oh, it really makes me fucking mad. Because it's a slap in the fucking face to victims when you do shit like that. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to get ranting. Let's finish this post so we can go over there to Mike's. After he ran off, I lost everything because of all of his debt was in my name. Those credit cards were not in his name. They were in your name because he didn't do shit on credit. You got credit cards because he wasn't sending you money while he was on the road so that you could be a whore. You had to fund it yourself. Boo-hoo. The bills were paid, the kids were paid, the house was paid, everything was paid. You just didn't get extra spending money to go be a whore. Let's talk about it. So you got credit cards and acquired a big, good fucking bunch of debt, because that's what happens when you get a bunch of fucking credit cards and don't have any intention on paying on them. But guess what she did? Right after this was all said and done, she filed for bankruptcy. So she got a fucking clean slate in all aspects. Fucking evil bitch. You gotta be a just soulless fucking human being to, after knowing what you know, and to coming on here and posting this so that his family can see it. Anyways, the kids and I lost the only home they ever. What do you mean, the home that you fucking sold? That one? You didn't lose anything. The kids and I lost the only home they ever knew, and they had to move schools, and I had no control to stop it. Recently, I received less than 24 hours notice that my charges against John were going before the grand jury. None of my family or friends were called to testify. about previous abuse. And with him not present to even confirm the rape test, all charges against him were dismissed, and I had no control. Bitch, you sound batshit fucking crazy. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. The grand jury dropped the charges because there was not enough evidence for them to pick it up. Not because, are you kidding me? How are you going to use the system and then insult them about the way that because you didn't, what? I mean, he's already gone, and now you're not happy